Story I heard from Emerhub team here in Malaysia is you sort of upset the whole office.
So basically, I pretty much just said that, Malaysian food is an acquired taste and I still don't understand it. They took it as me saying that, I don't like Malaysia as a whole. So they took it very personally.
So here's a pro tip.
Yeah.
Never ever say anything bad about people's food. So Sohaib, you're originally from Pakistan,
Yes.
but you've lived also in Dubai. Where else?
Yes, that's true. So I've primarily lived my whole life in Pakistan, but I have lived in Dubai for about a year and a half. So yeah, now I'm in Malaysia.
Malaysia isn't like the most famous place for Pakistani people to move to, right?
That's true, and it really surprised me when I got here to see that it wasn't. And what the question I kept asking was, why isn't it? Because it's so, the culture and the adaptability that you feel when you get here, it's so good that it does surprise me that it's not on one of the top lists. Because for people in Pakistan, it's either Dubai, the UK, Canada, the US, but it's very rare for Pakistanis to explore Southeast Asia as a place that they can potentially live in.
Right. So why do you think, like, obviously, like a lot of those places you mentioned have like good employment opportunities, but
Yep.
culturally, Malaysia actually should be way closer, right?
Yeah, I mean, culturally, if you compare even Dubai, which was also a very multicultural place, I would still say that Malaysia feels closer to home. It's not just about the fact that it's a Muslim majority country. So is Dubai, but it's just the general vibe is it's very close to what you'd expect living in Pakistan as well. It's just better.
Okay, so give us a breakdown. So there is obviously Malay majority.
Yeah.
And then you have like a large Chinese Indian population.
Yes. So but if you look at the history of Malaysia, it was these three people coming together: the native Muslim Malay, the Indians, and specifically South Indians, and the Chinese, who came together and formed this country, and they make up the vast majority of the population. I mean, you do see, you see a lot of people from the West choosing Malaysia as their, destination for long-term stay as well. But primarily, these are the three main people. And while primarily the Muslim Malay do appear in majority because of the politics, and they have majority in most of the government, but the Chinese and Indians have their own place in Malaysia as well.
Malaysia was the first ever South Asian country I visited. So I was still
True. Okay.
a student, and I had read that like Malaysia, truly Asia.
Yeah, that tagline brought you to the country.
Yeah, and then I came here and told like some like expats that like Malaysia must be like the most representative country of Asia because of the tagline. And
Yes, even when it comes to like we were talking about this a while ago, that the Muslim Malay do have a lot of, they have an edge in Malaysia in most things, when it comes to whether it's specific type of businesses that they want to run or specific rights that they might have. So the Muslim Malay do have a large majority for a lot of stuff. But then again, if you look at the day-to-day life, you will find that, while yes, the Muslim Malay element is there, the Chinese element is very strong. And it's like the city is divided, right? So you can go to a very Chinese majority area and you'll feel like you'll feel like the Chinese are running Malaysia, right? And then you can go to Brixfield or Little India, as they call it, and you'd find that, okay, there's way too many Indians, so maybe they're running the country. And good for me that there's also a little Pakistan. So you can go to these areas and you'll find a large majority of people, just occupying those areas.
story I heard from Emerhub team here in Malaysia is you sort of upset the whole office by saying something about their food. What was it?
Well, regardless of how the country is divided, what problems there are still a very proud people, and of course you expect that from any country. But so basically, I pretty much just said that Malaysian food is an acquired taste, and I personally don't like it. I still don't understand it, and that they took it as me saying that I don't like Malaysia as a whole, so they took it very personally. So, but yeah, Malaysia has a lot of good stuff to offer. I mean, the food is just one part of it, but everything else is really great. So I'm hoping not to be cancelled or something over this.
So here's a pro tip.
Yeah.
Never ever say anything bad about people's food.
Yeah. I mean, as a Pakistani, I would take offense if someone doesn't like our food. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Kind of also mean that nobody really feels like a stranger or like a stands out because of the way they look, right?
That is true, and you feel that in day-to-day life. I mean, if you were to go to Pakistan right now, I mean, people would look and point and stare because you'd be an anomaly in Pakistan, But here, no one looks and points because they're already so multicultural and there's already so much diversity, and it's not just at our age level, right? It's not just about work. So I put my kids in school here, and even in the school, I find that in that one classroom of like 8 kids, you've got all nationalities in there. You've got Chinese speakers who don't speak a word of English. You've got Malay individuals who are learning English now. So the language barrier is for everyone. I guess everyone's trying to catch up. But of course, Mandarin and Malay are mandatory subjects here. But yeah, it doesn't feel off when you come here. You are welcomed, and the community is already diverse enough that it allows you to come here and gel into it.
So how was the practical side of coming here? Like, is it easy to get visas? Like, how is like the whole moving process?
It's surprisingly okay. So the visa that I opted for was the digital nomad. So it basically allows me to live here, not as a full-time employee of a company or not as on a different kind of visa. So I'm working here as a digital nomad. And this visa right now is very famous, and it's relatively easy to get as well. I mean, it takes a bit of time, a couple of months, but the process and the requirements are not very strict.
Unlike in some countries in South Asia where foreigners are like well known for doing like visa runs and all this kind of like legally gray area things. Yeah. Here you don't really have to do that.
I mean, depending on what visa type you're on, I have met a lot of individuals who are in trouble with immigration. Of course, every country has that. But when you have easy visa options like the digital nomad, allowing like people who make around $2,000 a month to actually live in Malaysia for a year and not have to worry about doing visa runs, that is a great positive. It's a great plus. And it's a very famous visa type. Overall, the practicality of moving to Malaysia, it was very smooth. Like, I thought that when I would get here, it would be difficult for me to find an apartment or buy a car or something, or get admissions in schools. But it was quite easy, quite straightforward. We were able to do all of that in a matter of like 2 to 3 weeks.
And you mentioned that like there's like a certain salary level you have to earn to qualify as a digital nomad.
Yeah, so the digital nomad has pretty much just 3 main requirements. The first is that you have to prove a valid contract of work with an international company. So it couldn't be a Malaysian company because then you're a local employee. So as long as you have a valid contract of work, you then have to prove that you're earning more than $2,000 a month if you're in the digital domain, such as marketing or development or something. But if you're in a non-digital role, then you have to showcase $4,000 of salary per month and just a clean background check from your country, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing else.
And that visa allowed you to bring your family with you?
Right away, yes. That was one of the biggest advantage of that I didn't have to come here alone and then wait for them. So we applied for it together. I was the primary applicant, and then there were, my family was as dependents right away. So when I got my approval, theirs came with it.
And your wife, could she work here in Malaysia?
No, that's one of the downsides that dependent visas don't, whether it's on the digital nomad, whether it's on an employment pass, so dependent visas cannot work. They need to have their own employment passes.
So if your wife wanted to work here for a Malaysian company, she would have to get her own visa, basically.
That is correct. So the Malaysian company would then offer her an employment pass.
What about your kids? Are they allowed to enter local schools?
Yes, that is correct. So the schools generally do offer visa options as well. And, if it doesn't matter what your age is, the school can allow you to get a student visa. But dependent visas are definitely allowed to go to school, and there were no problems with us doing that.
Okay, and you have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
One of them goes to primary school and...
Yeah, they're both in primary. The older one is in year 1 and the younger one is in EY, early years 1. So they're both in the Cambridge system. You generally have a lot of international schools in KL at least. And most of the foreigners and even some of the locals prefer that.
As a father, I'm sure like that's one area you worry about. Like, are my kids going to get like proper education while you are like doing your digital nomad life?
Absolutely. It was scary in the beginning that, what would the culture be like? What would the other kids be like? How welcoming are they going to be of, other cultures? But I mean, we're a couple of months in, and my elder son's best friend is a Japanese and a Filipino.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and so he has three good friends. The best one is Japanese, and then there's a Filipino, and then there's a Malay. So it was really easy for him to really gel in with all of them because they're all learning the same thing, and it's an international school. But yeah, for the kids, it's been fun. It's that exposure that I really wanted them to have of different cultures, different kind of peoples that they're now getting in Malaysia.
Are you noticing any kind of like new behaviors from your kids that they picked up from their international friends?
I mean, it would sound a little stereotypical, but, but so my elder son's best friend is Japanese, and they're traditionally very disciplined and very kind, and so of all those positives of the Japanese people that my son is now picking up on, and I've noticed a significant change in his behavior. He's very kind now, even to his younger brother.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was surprising. And then his other best friend being Filipino, now he's picking up good energy from him. I think people from Philippines have really good energy and they like to go out and have fun. And so it's like you get the best of all these countries in Malaysia because you find all those people here.
What about like the parts you want to keep from your home culture?
Yeah, I mean, there are of course a lot of good things that we bring to the table as well, and other kids are adapting to those things as well. But yeah, at home we are still a Pakistani family, and we try to instill those cultural values. But the biggest problem would have been the religious part, because I have family who moved to the UK or moved to even Canada, and they find that it's very difficult for them to instill good religious values in their kids. And that is a major concern. I've known people who have moved back to Pakistan after living in places in Europe because they did not find those religious values there. But again, you don't have to worry about that in Malaysia because half the population is Muslim anyway.
What about like the quality of the education? Like, is it like comparable to what you would get to your kids in Pakistan?
This is something that I'm pretty sure a lot of Pakistanis would think of, because education in Pakistan and India, I would add, it's very competitive, which is the reason why both these countries, produce such good resources in the workforce. So that was a concern. When we got here, when we did the initial assessment for my elder son, the school actually wanted to put him in year 2. Because
like a 1 year ahead.
Yeah, so he kind of breezed through the year 1 exam, and they gave him the year 2 exam, and he kind of breezed through that as well. So they wanted to promote him. And it was at that point when I had that question, that are they going to be left behind in terms of, that competitive education that we had in Pakistan? But given that it was a new environment, given that, they were just adapting to life in Malaysia, my wife and I decided that, we would not push him too much. So let's keep him in year 1. But we found that even though it started off slow, they're now pretty much catching up to the schools in Pakistan. So maybe it's not as, there's not as much pressure in the early education, which I'm finding, as there is in Pakistan. But eventually they're all going to catch up. There isn't going to be much difference.
So is there like another angle that they're better at, perhaps like maybe creativity?
Yes, I was surprised to find out that every week the teachers put on plays. They have character building exercises, because character building is very important in this country, which I was surprised to find. And it shows later in life as well. So all of this positive stuff that he's taking from his friends, he's also taking from his teachers. So his class teacher is a Chinese Malay, and he's there is a huge focus on education, but then they have these houses that represent like courage and focus, and then they have weekly plays that kids take part in, the teachers take part in, they do musicals and stuff. So the character building part really impressed me, what they're doing in Malaysia.
We already talked about the small mishap you had with the food in the office.
Yeah.
But otherwise, culturally, how is it to come in as a foreign manager and like run a team primarily consisting of local people?
Well, the general mentality of people, I'm not sure if it's all for Southeast Asia, that really, it took me a while to understand, was that the most important thing in a workplace is the community. And the experiences that I've had in life working in either Dubai or Pakistan, it's all very hyper competitive based on skill and deliverables and whatnot. So I brought that same perception here, and somehow I did find that that did not resonate as well with the office and the people here, and it took me a while to realize that it's more about community. It's more about you hear that that Malaysians like to discuss everything over tea. And it's not just a saying, it's true. You break bread with Malaysians and even with your team, and you'll find that that's how you build, that connection with them. Otherwise, you're not seen as someone gelling in really well. So it did take me a while to figure that out, yes.
Does it mean that you need to start drinking tea with the team as well, or they actually like don't want to have tea with you and they just want to be by themselves?
I would say that hierarchy is not really very important in this regard. So when you're going with your team, going out to lunch or having tea with your team, they expect there not to be a hierarchy. They expect you to be on the same level as them, as humans, as people. And so yeah, but they would want that to happen. But if it doesn't, you can find a divide very fast, that they'll just see that this person's not gelling in. And it's like, again, the community element, if you don't fit in, you're not seen as part of their community.
If people are not as results oriented as perhaps in some other countries, how do you actually get your team to perform?
I would say that if you were to just give them very vague instructions and say that this is just do this and that's it, that people would generally find that difficult. I would say that would be true at any place in the world. But like I said, the community element plays a role here as well. So you have to be a part of the work. You can't just isolate a task and ask your team to just do that task. It doesn't work that way here. They can achieve great things. Let me just say this: the Malaysian talent is very high. The talent level is very high, and they have a very good work ethic. They can work beyond what is asked of them, so they can go above and beyond. But they won't go by simple instructions. They have to be led there. So you have to be a part of the process. And if you do that, I mean, the results, they would speak for themselves. They'd be excellent because the people are very skilled.
You mean like you have to give like a bigger meaning to their work? Or?
That is correct, yes. So not only just bigger meaning and attaching it to what the bigger picture is, but also being a part of it with them. So you need to be as involved in that task as they are. So that doesn't mean that you hold their hand throughout. They will do the work, but you just have to be there, I think, is the important part. You can't just step into a room, say, okay, do X, Y, Z and step out. It's not going to work that way. You have to check in. You have to, if they need anything, they would try not to come to you because you wouldn't make yourself available, and that would be a bad thing. But yeah, you have to stay as part of the team if you want the team to deliver good work.
I guess there are then like two extremes you have to avoid. One is like the one you mentioned, that like you are like a distant boss who probably like sits in their office, door closed, and
or extreme hand holding. So it's definitely balancing those two things is important, because on one hand you can't do everything with your team because that's why they're there, and on the other hand you can't just completely abandon them, give them a task and imagine that they would just do it themselves. They can, but it will in the long run not work out. So you have to find a very good balance in the middle where you are approachable, you are with your team, but then also letting them creatively explore how they want to go about their tasks.
I haven't worked with a lot of Malaysians myself, but generally in South Asia, I feel like you still have to keep some distance with your team. Like otherwise you just like lose your authority. Like you just become like fake part of the team that they don't really respect.
So again, that's where the balance comes in, right? They want that to happen. So they want their bosses and their supervisors, their team members to all work together. But you don't want to take the extreme of hand holding and being like the pal around the office. You can't always take that stance either. So it's a very delicate balance that like I said, it took me a while to figure out. Initially, I must have failed at this because it's very tricky to have that balance, but it's needed in Malaysia.
Been, I guess, on and off to Malaysia for about a year and a half now.
Yeah, that's true. And it's good that you bring that up because that really helped, I guess, with the transition, because I keep saying that it was so easy to move to Malaysia. A large part of that was because I had been to Malaysia, on and off over the last year. And a good thing I think I did was I also brought my family here and we stayed here for 4 weeks. So we didn't, when you stay in a place for that long, you're not really a tourist anymore. You start to do groceries and you're cleaning the apartment and, ordering stuff, and so you kind of get a very good idea of what it would be like to eventually live here. So when we eventually landed here with all of our stuff from Pakistan, we already kind of knew where we were going. We knew the areas where we had to get the apartment. I kind of had an idea of what kind of car I wanted to get. So yeah, that I guess really made it better. But of course, there are so many good resources online. There are people, a lot of expats make videos, just like this one, that really, guide you on what you should be looking out for.
First time you came here, you rented like a hotel room, or you found an apartment right away?
Oh, the first time was really bad because I kind of, looked at the vicinity of KLCC, and then I found this Airbnb that was really cheap. And I saw that, okay, this is just like a 5-minute drive from KLCC. It must be great. But when I got here, the building was not all that good. It was right next to the train tracks, so it kept me up till like midnight, and then up again at 6 a.m. That's when the trains start. So that trip was really difficult. And what I did not prepare for in that trip, despite my wife telling me again and again, I did not carry my own medicine. So the day I landed, the very next day, I got sick, and pretty bad. It was like I had a fever of 101 or 2. My first experience with really bad influenza. And I somehow made my way to a pharmacy. And of course, the medicines are not the same as they are in UAE or Pakistan. So that was really tough. Anyone's actually, considering moving here, they should be prepared to at least get sick once. But the good thing about that is that this year I didn't get sick, but my whole family did.
Oh.
So I had already built immunity from last year. So yeah, that's because of the tropical weather. It's really common for first-time visitors to get sick.
Anytime you get sick, you can just go online and order like prescription medicine.
I wouldn't say prescription medicine anymore, but at least over-the-counter stuff you can pretty much order on Grab or Foodpanda. So that really works. Of course, the names are very different here, and they have their own local remedies for a lot of things, and they do work. But I guess coming from Pakistan, we're used to a much higher dosage of medicine. So, but yeah, I have been sick a couple of times in Malaysia. The last time we met in January, I had a bad muscle problem in my foot. So that was actually my first experience of going to a doctor in Malaysia, and found it to be surprisingly affordable. It wasn't so bad, and the doctor was really nice. I was told that you should first go to a clinic instead of directly going to the hospital, because they need something from the clinic doctor to actually admit you or something. But the clinic doctor pretty much sorted it all out. I got my medicine from the clinic. They tested it out thoroughly. They gave me some kind of treatment on site as well. So yeah, it's a good level of doctors that you find in Malaysia.
What are some of the things that for sure you should take with you when you first come to Malaysia? You mentioned some familiar medicine from back home, but
Yeah.
What else?
So when you first land, you often think that you won't find the things that you like here. And that was the case, because especially for food, like, food's a huge part of where you come from. You're used to a certain type of spices or a certain type of sauces and stuff. And when we first came here, we thought that, we should have brought this or that chip or this sauce or something. But then, like I said, you have specific community stores here. So you have stores that are purely for, Chinese taste buds. You have stores specifically for Pakistanis, for Indians, for Arabs, so no matter where you're coming from, you will find your flavor in Malaysia, even if it takes a while for you to find it. Like the example I was giving you a couple of days ago of the chili garlic sauce that you have in Pakistan, and it's so ingrained in our DNA that we cannot have French fries without it. So I had to find a Pakistani store, and they stocked it in bulk, so we were able to find it. But food, I would say don't worry about it. You will find your flavor in Malaysia.
Yeah, I would say that as a European, I cannot imagine of food I cannot find here. Like the grocery store close to my place has pretty much like everything I'm used to.
That's true.
Maybe not like black bread, but like
I'm telling you, you'll find that here as well. And the good thing is you live in KLCC, right? That's a very foreigner-friendly area. So all the stores will carry all the stuff that you like. Yeah.
One of the downsides of staying in KLCC right now is it's so loud at night.
Yeah,
I just came from China, where everybody has EVs, and
you hear nothing. Yeah,
you go from like zero sound to like non-stop like
absolutely
drag racing or whatever they're doing at night.
I mean, for long-term stay, KLCC is a debatable option. So when I came here first, I was in an Airbnb for 2 weeks. So I had to sort everything out in 2 weeks, and I was able to. And the property agents were great. They showed me around a lot of options. But of course, I did not know the map of KL, right? So I did not know where I had to be. So I thought, okay, for the first year, I'm going to sign a 1-year lease. I'm going to stay in KLCC, so I'm in the middle, and I have accessibility to everywhere. There are pros and cons to that. The cons being like you're smack dab in the middle of the city. It's like living in downtown Dubai, right? You've got the traffic issues, you've got sound, after office hours, the roads are jam packed. If there are any events, you're stuck. So the ASEAN summit that just happened, it pretty much, brought traffic to a standstill for like a couple of days, where you couldn't just imagine going out. So that's definitely one of the downsides. The plus sides is that I would say that everything is very close by. So the good grocery stores, you don't have to drive to get to those. The good restaurants, you don't have to drive to get to those. If you're in the middle of KLCC, you've got everything around you, whether it's Pakistani restaurants. I went to a very good Iraqi restaurant a couple of weeks ago. It was like a 5-minute walk from my place. So I would say that if you go further away from KLCC, then things are farther away. So that's one of the advantages. A pro tip here would be doing what I accidentally did. Was when I chose my apartment, I chose one that did not face the main road. So that really helped, because when I came here in December with my family, we were facing Jalanton Razak, like you are right now.
Yeah.
And we thought, wow, what a view. We can see Petronas Towers and all that. But at night, when the ambulances and the motorbikes and everything, it keeps you up. But now
that's literally what happened with me. I checked into my hotel and they said, like, congratulations, we upgraded your room to city view.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's a trick. Yeah, you should never go for that. I mean, the view's great, but regardless of what floor you're on, you can be on the 48th floor, you will still hear a lot of road noise in KLCC. So I was fortunate enough to choose one that does not face Jalanton Razak, so it's very quiet, very calm. The inside of KLCC is not as loud as the outside roads. So just if you're coming, you just make sure your apartment's not facing that.
when you're a foreigner, most likely your business is somehow going to be in KLCC or nearby areas, right? So if you decide that, okay, I don't want that city center and noise and pollution and all those things, and I'm going to go to a more quiet area, does that mean that I'm going to sit in the traffic for 2 hours every day?
It could, depending on how far you go. So there are some really good foreigner-friendly areas around KLCC, right? You've got the likes of Mont Kiara, or you've got Damansara, and they're good areas for foreigners. And I mean, the commute in the morning would take you like half an hour, not 2 hours. But then if you really want to get away from the city, you go to Cyberjaya or you go to BJ. That would definitely take you an hour and a half easy in rush hour.
What do the foreigners actually do in Malaysia? Like most of them, like the ones who live here.
The ones who live here, they are either running businesses, they are either representing their home countries in some kind of a back office situation, or they're working with engineering projects or high tech projects. So you need to have a very solid business plan on how you're going to gel in to Malaysia, whether you have existing tenders with the government or with larger organizations, or you can very clearly see your customer base. That's how it's going to work. Because let me tell you, the last year alone has seen massive inflow of foreigners into Malaysia. And the reasons are, they're there for everyone to see. Everywhere else in the world is full. Malaysia is the next best thing. So, so there is going to be a lot of competition, but you need to have laser focused path for your first year. You can't wing it anymore, I would say.
So we are located right now just below Petronas Towers, and Petronas obviously is like gigantic company that everybody in Malaysia and mostly outside of Malaysia has heard of.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned to me earlier that there's a whole industry of companies that come to Malaysia to offer services to Petronas.
That is correct, yes.
So maybe you can elaborate a bit.
Sure. So but Petronas works like any other large company. They open up tenders, right, for work, whether it's any kind of mining, research, any kind of actual construction of, petroleum stuff. I'm not an engineer, so I'm not very well versed in that. But I have had a couple of clients who came to Malaysia purely to work with Petronas because it's so lucrative. If you're able to win a tender, I mean, you're pretty set. And so one of the clients that I'm currently working with, they're a geo mining research company out of the US, very specialized and have a lot of experience in pre-extraction research. So they're mineral mining and what. It's again not an engineer. So they are coming here purely to work with Petronas, and it's difficult for them because every different SWEC code that you can have with Petronas, every kind of tender that you can work with has different requirements. Some are open to foreigners. Most require you to have a local company with local shareholding. So that means that this client that I have, they came in and now we had to find them local partners that they can form a company with, and then they can actually go with these SWEC codes. But the challenge there again, some SWEC codes are open only to the Bumiputra people, which are the Muslim majority Malays. So the Muslim Malays, again, one of those things where they have more opportunities, that Petronas has specific things that are only for them.
So
and then,
Bumiputra is like a legal entity type?
Bumiputra is a people. So it's the native Malay people who are Muslims. It's a status, right? You're correct. Not everyone in Malaysia who's born in Malaysia has that. They may be a citizen, but they might not be Bumiputra based on what religion they follow. So that is one of the things that does upset the non-Muslim population of Malaysia. But it's primarily done to keep the country, Muslim first. And you can see that with Petronas as well, that they do ask for Bumiputra status companies. And Bumiputra status companies means that on all three levels, whether it's their shareholding, their directorship, or their employees, if there's a majority Malay Muslim in it, they are open to certain advantages, whether it's working with government entities or certain kind of projects or certain tax benefits, they can apply for those.
I've lived in Southeast Asia for like 10 plus years myself, and I feel over time the foreigners gravitate towards one or the other extreme. So one extreme being that they're like super bitter and like cranky about everything, but for some reason not leaving the country.
Yeah, I mean, there are advantages. Yeah.
And the other extreme is like this, like Western media is like portraying this country wrong. It's like amazing. I would never want to go back. And like everything is perfect here.
I mean, that kind of mindset gets views, right? So unfortunately, that's the kind of content we see. But so I had a gentleman here. Again, Malaysia gives me the opportunity of meeting people from all over the world, especially for the podcast that we do. And I had a gentleman here from the US who's lived in Indonesia for a long time, and now he was visiting Malaysia to check it out. And he said that the media portrayal of any place outside the US is very off. So that is definitely always going to happen. People from the US are going to be surprised because their media, and they live in the matrix, right? So they only see what the matrix wants them to see. So they will always be surprised. But the reality is, again, it's not perfect. It's not one extreme or the other. It's still pretty darn good. I mean, from Dubai, you would expect perfection. I mean, that's the mindset you can easily take to Dubai. From Malaysia, you can expect it to be pretty amazing.
In Dubai, where we both have spent quite a lot of time, I guess they still keep reminding you that you are a foreigner here. So
yes.
We do like your money, but you are a foreigner.
Yes, and that is one of the things that put me off Dubai, right? So you go and you live in Dubai for a long period of time. Initially, you will find it like very respectful. People stop their cars when they see you crossing the road with a kid. So it's a very good system. But yes, over time you do feel like an outsider. That if you see an Arab on the street, you're supposed to curtsy. I mean you should, because it's their country and they own everything. So I think that your question would be, do you feel that in Malaysia?
Yeah.
No, I do not. I mean, in Pakistan, it's the other way around. So foreigners are treated better than the locals. In Dubai, it's the other way around. Locals are treated better than the foreigners. Here, perfect blend. That's what I love about this country. It's, as a foreigner, you do not feel like you're out of place. People don't stop and point and stare, or they don't disregard you just because you're a foreigner. As long as you have an open mindset, you're willing to try gelling in with the people. I keep saying that word over and over again because it's very important to gel in with the people. You do that, the place is multicultural enough already to accept one more culture coming in. So yeah, it's pretty easy to integrate yourself and be a part of Malaysia, not Malaysian, but be a part of Malaysia and not be seen as an outsider.
I guess in any country, as a foreigner, we are supposed to bring some value to the
That's
local
true. Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, I mean they are open to a lot of foreign cultures coming in. I mean recently I've met a couple of very good businessmen from Kuala Lumpur who like running family businesses and whatnot, and they, even though a lot of things that Malaysia does are great, like for example this guy I'm talking about works in furniture, right? So Malaysian furniture, even before I came here, my dad told me that Malaysian has some of the best furniture in the world. So when I met this guy, he said that we're purely importing furniture from Italy. And I'm like, why? And he said because the people want that. So the people want and they're open to foreign, stuff coming into the country. They enjoy that. Even though they have amazing stuff inside Malaysia, they're very open to stuff coming in. That's where we come in, right? So we bring in a flavor of our culture to Malaysia, which they really enjoy. And again, it's because from a young age, they're used to celebrating everything. Like my son, since the term started, he's celebrated Deepawali with the Indian community. He's celebrating Malaysia Day. He dressed up as a Malaysian and he looked Malaysian. So that was fun for us to see. And now Christmas is coming up. They're going to celebrate Christmas. Then Eid is going to come up. So they're going to celebrate Eid. So, they learn from a young age to be very accepting and open to cultures and celebrations. And they love to celebrate. Oh, Chinese New Year. How could I forget?
What are some of the specific advice to Pakistanis or South Asians in general that you would give, like before coming to Malaysia? Like these are like some of the things I would prepare.
First off, I would say that the world needs to look at Malaysia more carefully now. Southeast Asia generally has attracted a lot of foreigners, but still not in the droves that it should. I like, you see foreigners all across Southeast Asia. They're doing business. They're living here. But why are people choosing Dubai and these places over these places? That now surprises me. Why did I go live a year and a half in Dubai when I could have come to Malaysia sooner? So the world needs to pay attention to what's happening in Malaysia right now, what's happening in Singapore, Indonesia. These places are on the rise. How you need to prepare yourself is, I would say, look at the place and you will find opportunity. No matter what you're doing, you will find that stuff can be done in Malaysia as well, if not better. The country is so ideally located. If you're in trade, you've got better access to all of this. You've got better access to China. If you don't like China, you've got better access to Vietnam. That's the general trend, people choosing between the two. But so it's very ideally located. You like to create content. You've got such good culture here. You can create amazing content in Malaysia. You like trade. There's so much trade happening. It's a hub. Like China's right there and Vietnam's right there. So any kind of business you want to run, start looking at Malaysia, and you will find an option to do that business here. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I will also add that for Pakistanis specifically, we often chase citizenship. And I understand that Southeast Asia, I don't think any country in Southeast Asia offers a path to citizenship. That's probably why a lot of Pakistanis end up going to the UK or to Canada or the US or anywhere in Europe where they can chase that passport. And I get the appeal of doing that, but the question then becomes, how easy is it? How easy is that life of integrating into a culture that is not very close to yours? A lot of people do it very successfully, but I would say that start looking at Southeast Asia. To my fellow Pakistanis, look at Southeast Asia as a stepping stone if you have to. Maybe you come here first and then go somewhere else. But it's a great place to integrate in easily, bring your families in, and you won't have that much of a cultural shock as you would if you were to move to the UK. You've got great halal food, you've got great Pakistani food, you've got great communities of both Pakistanis and other nationalities. So I would say it's a perfect melting pot for anyone looking to relocate outside their base country.